Most high net worth structures, businesses, still operate at the paperwork layer. Filings, reviews, and short-term compliance are treated as the primary work after the real decisions have already been made. Yes, this is about business structuring. That sequence leaves the architecture unexamined and quietly transfers optionality or scenarios away from you, the principal, the owner. This deep dive examines the fundamental difference between managing filings, engineering financial architecture for your business. We break down how structures optimized for opacity or short-term compliance create latent fragility, why the design layer of your business determines lifetime navigation cost, and what it means for the principal, the owner, to remain captain of the vessel, because that's exactly what you are from a historical perspective. I'm John Conrad, owner, operator, principal of Numeratus.us, a consulting firm with the foundation of accounting. We're a niche concierge firm offering white glove service to make sure that you're not in the gray area or even in the black area. It doesn't matter if you're a small entrepreneur who's just starting off, the individual who's trying to figure out if you're going to even start a business, or someone who's a seasoned veteran trying to find that next dollar. You will leave this video with clear examination points for your own entities, digital assets, real estate holdings, and operating capital. Numeratus operates at the design layer so that compliance becomes the natural byproduct of deliberate architecture, building rather than the work itself. Let's start with defining the two layers. Paperwork layer is filings, tax returns, trust reviews, bookkeeping treated as the primary work. It's reactive. It occurs after decisions are already locked and booked. The design layer is deliberate engineering of entities, ownership structures, digital assets, real estate, and operating capital so that the structure itself navigates the regulatory environment with low friction. Compliance being key is so important because if you're trying to adhere to that ideal of compliance, I bet you will be paying less in order to get into compliance than someone who has no idea what they're doing and is flying in the dark. Most service relationships operate exclusively at the paperwork layer. They make sure their books are done, but they're not necessarily clean. They file their tax returns, but are they in compliance? The design layer is rarely examined because it is rarely offered. Paperwork layer is not wrong. It is incomplete and downstream. Are we in the weeds, or are we in the place where we're focusing on architecture? Architecture determines what the filings later reflect. And this brings about the mechanism of optionality. Structures optimized for opacity or short-term compliance, kind of like a band-aid, create latent fragility that remain invisible until real scrutiny arrives. That's when we get an audit or something of that nature. And this occurs when the architecture was never designed to navigate this type of water. The cost appears in decision advantage and capital positioning. The lifetime cost of navigation rises when the design layer is left unexamined. We never factored this in, that we would have to be dealing with this regulatory environment. For instance, for your specific business, there might be system-level patterns that are red flags, multi-entity structures built primarily for temporary privacy, or even evasion, digital asset holdings without system fluency, real estate entities optimized only for the current filing cycle. They're leaving holes in the story. The result is the same. Your options quietly transfer away from you, the owner. Don't you want options? Don't you want to navigate your ship? Yes. Your business is likened to a ship. You have to see where you're going. Architecture actually produces this outcome. Architecture treats the regulatory environment as navigable territory rather than an obstacle. The vessel, your business, is designed so the captain retains control under scrutiny. Compliance becomes the operating system instead of an after-the-fact cost center. What are these outcomes? You have preserved optionality. Different scenarios, lower lifetime friction. Decision advantages remain with the principal. Capital is positioned for long-term cultivation of value rather than short-term fire extinguishing. At Numeratus, we engineer the infrastructure at the design layer. Filings and reviews become the natural byproduct of good architecture, not the work itself. So what should you, the owner, examine next? Here are some concrete points for you to apply immediately. Where do the real decisions get made versus where the filings get prepared? Current entities, digital assets, and real estate holdings designed for temporary privacy or for resilience under examination? Does the current advisory relationship operate at the paperwork layer or the design layer? What would change if architecture came first and filings became downstream of deliberate design? Remember the paperwork layer versus the design layer. There's a synthesis between the two. You're too heavy on one pole, you're out of balance. Most structures still operate at the paperwork layer because that is the only layer most operators have been shown. Numeratus is relevant only once the decision is made to treat architecture itself as the primary work rather than the filings that follow it. You didn't start your business because of the numbers and the paperwork with the authoritative bodies. I did, but you started your business in order to capture value and create that flywheel. The difference between managing filings and engineering financial architecture determines the lifetime cost of navigation and who keeps the optionality. Examine the layer at which your current structures were designed. That examination is where real capital preservation and decision advantage begin. If you're interested in learning more about Numeratus, check the link above for more information. Thank you.